Дорогие товарищи строители, монтажники, энергетики, вчера в 7 часов 10 минут поставлен под промышленную нагрузку 15-й гидроагрегат Усть-Илимской ГЭС.
how much money was spent so that we can all fight each other to die. I wonder if that's what keeps me up at night. Good night, shepherds. Welcome to your common third watch broadcast of the evening. For those of you who walk the nights and walk the shadows and or are unfortunate enough to just be present for the times of these hours, I wish you all the best. I wish that you all have a stroke of a light within you to lead you throughout the darkness that you find yourself in this night. And instead of finding ourselves just in a peace and quiet time, let us also find ourselves in a time that is busy, busy with life, that is trying to keep itself thriving and moving, bustling, even though we may not see it. Nighttime is for the hidden things to come out, but how many things that are out go hidden when the night comes? How many of the traits and the things that we think of so often of the light and the world of the light disappear and are unnoticeable within the night? And thus I happen to mind often this period. I like to think of myself as trying to understand more what David must have felt when he would sit in the caves in the fields of Judea, Samaria, different realms that he would flee to, as he would try to look up in the sky and see a purpose to everything, and why it is that everyone around him seems so focused on showing the masses of men to destroy. I cannot fathom using leadership just to destroy things. But that is the kind of world we live in. And thus, this is my form of rebellion, Theocivics. So yeah, welcome to the night hour, people. I hope you all enjoy your time, enjoy your show. And we're gonna talk about parts chapter 6 and 7. We're gonna get into the Ten Commandments, people. Get into some Ten Commandees. We're gonna go and talk about, how fellowship with God leads a nation to recognize inalienable rights, and how those inalienable rights are distributed not just for our species, not just for our planet, but for all planets, and this would be the guiding stone. Because again, oftentimes you have societies in Star Trek who meet the Federation and they either get into conflicts or they align themselves. But the Federation is often known for this utopian ideal of peace first, exploration beyond all things. They're a scientific navy, so to speak. And so the idea is that the Federation has this utopian ideal that is really, if you look at it, based in Christian ideals expanded into space exploration. The idea of common brotherhood, fellowship of ideals and virtues that should be shared amongst all civilizations, regardless of your origins. That we all have a common image, regardless of our forms being different. These kind of concepts are abstractions of the Christian ideals applied to a scientism, there we go, scientism, philosophy. So as we look into the Ten Commandments, I don't want you to see these as just some pejoratives, thou shalt not breathe the wrong way in class type, um, rules. These are rules that have a metaphysical and physical foundation within reality, the essence of what it means to be a living being in reality. And these virtues exist unilaterally, and all just faiths, and all righteous faiths, aka faiths that do not destroy humanity, would honor that aspect of the faith, and they would not come into conflict with the Christian faith on those kind of things, or the Jewish faith and those kind of things. Though one can make an argument that for other aspects of Judeo-Christian faiths, there can be an argument made that certain aspects of what they believe Yahweh is not actually Yahweh. The concept of Yahweh is the ever loving destroyer of man and all things, and the lover of violence and death and sacrifice for the sake of suffering. Yeah, no, that's the Antichrist, guys. That's like literally described in the Bible as being the perception and the God worship in the last days. because that's what people believe Yahweh really is, when in reality, Yahweh is nothing like that. And he continuously begs us never to see him like that. And he goes out of his way to wash his hands and back off when people want to murder other people. He tries to interfere when he can, but you cannot stop somebody from hurting themselves. Thus, when people hurt their own kin and their own people, and people who, even though they think they're different, really are no different than them, that's no different than you cutting yourself. And God can't force you to not cut yourself. I have a whole video where I literally pray and we do this whole test. God cannot be tested on that front. He will not be tested to force you to act against yourself. That is wrong. And it's wrong to force God to act against his own agency and right to be non-active in the world. You cannot force God to be here. That's not fair to him. That's extremely cruel considering you complain all the time about how he forces us to do things, but we never ask, what do we force him to put up with? What do we force God to have to do? We question all the time why there's evil and all this, but maybe there's evil because God gets tired. Maybe because there's just so much inside of us that the only thing he can do is prevent you from existing, and he doesn't want that. Maybe God actually wants you to exist with all your imperfections. He would rather you be imperfect with a chance of redeeming you than to have you be a robot. Maybe you should respect that fact and not make him into a robot. Not summarize him as some being that can only be the sum of what human beings make him out to be. Just because he has a Bible, just because we claim it's the Word of God, does not mean that limits God. That's the whole point of him being incomprehensible. It's not so that we can make excuses for why we can't talk about the things of this world or answer them. But sorry. Side tangent. Let's get into some sweet old music. This is some Hungarian music that I loved listening to as a kid. So I wanted to, let you guys kind of find this nice little sweet jam into your ear. Let it soothe you into this nice night as I used to when I was a teenager, get into my flow. I remember when I first started smoking and, sitting up late and just kind of sitting in the garage, just kind of thinking about the world. And, it's funny that I never thought about God that intently back then. But I often find the garage experience of sitting in garages late at night, just sitting there thinking about the world, actually really has helped me out. Then I got older and started sitting outside in the middle of the night, waiting for something to shittily boot me. And in the moments where I wait for something to shittily boot me, I pray that something won't shittily boot me. And then I found that, hey, that kind of helps. So I would say that spending late hours out in the woods kind of helped me a lot with, understanding that, yeah, I can understand why people needed faith that something wouldn't eat them in the middle of the night as soon as their fire goes down. Because fire's not really that useful in distracting things away from you. Sometimes it kind of just draws things straight to you. It's like having a pocket homing device. Oh, I love that song. I might end with that one. Oh man, that's a great album. I might end with that album only because I'm almost fully certain YouTube has no way of censoring that. Or else that whole album would have been removed off YouTube by now. So, I think I might sneak that album on there for you guys, or at least the key songs I love from it. Either way, The Far Side's pretty dope. And so is Heaven Street 7, which is who I'm going to play now. They occasionally did collaborations with Yonder Boy, the lead singer, and that's who I was playing at the very beginning. The first song is called No Land for Petrograd, as you guys saw. This song is called Mendikel Tolap. Enjoy.
Menni kell tovább, így nem mehet tovább. Csak annyi kell, hogy menni kell, mindig ezt mondják, ha kérdezem. És inni kell tovább, és enni kell tovább. És tenni kell, és venni kell, és annyi kell, mindenki változik, de nem változik meg senki sem. Ezt még megszívom, ezt még eliszom, találkozunk majd a túloldalon. A nap kisüt a ház felett, és átfesti a színeket. Én elhiszem, hogy nem hiszed, de menni kell tovább. Fog a pádra, fog a lányra, fogd rá a szélre, mert mindig csak fúj, vagy a régi gépre, amíg nincsen új. Ha megszakad a szív, ha felrobban a híd, ha elmosódott a látóhatár, ha nincs között hozzá, reggel mi vár? A nap kisüt a ház felett, és átfesti a színeket. Én elhiszem, hogy nem hiszed, de menni kell tovább. A nap kisüt a ház felett, és elrepül a ház. Úgy bizony, ha kérdezed, menni kell tovább. 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 Ha azt hiszed, a könnyeid az égiek majd megveszik, ha azt hiszed, nincs benne rendszer, ha azt hiszed, van benne rendszer. A nap kisüt a ház felett, és átfesti a színeket. Én elhiszem, hogy nem hiszed, de menni kell tovább. A nap kisüt a ház felett, és elrepül a ház. Úgy bizony, ha kérdezed, menni kell tovább.
Oh, actually, you know what? Let's do one more. Just because I just found this, and Tape Underground is amazing. If I find the right one. They don't have all the old songs. So, anyways. I forgot that this is not very instrumentally. But anyways. I think one of the things that's most important for us to focus on when we're talking about the formation of a government is that we are a collective species, herd-like in mentality. We cannot avoid that nature in ourselves. We cannot avoid that inevitability about our society. we are always prone towards collectivism, towards the adoption of idols. So, as we talk about the Ten Commandments, you have to get an idea why it's so important to focus on these things. In my case, well, that was interesting. In my case, though, what I found is that there is an intense focus on a need to round out and show a totality to this experience. So, coming at it from the perspective of a sinner saved, it has been important to me to show that there is benefits to all aspects of Christianity. There is a time for fanaticism, as we talked about the other day, a time for temperance, a time for being conservative. There's a time for just standing back and almost seemingly being apathetic to things, because it's not your place to affect things right now. So, because we are to live in this world but not be a part of this world, yet we are coming from this world and created from within this world's womb, we must look at our existence as a totality of being. I think I just saw a shooting star. Anyways, I think that if we're going to create a society that doesn't have to destroy its past in order to move on, and doesn't have to reshape humanity into something abstract in order to finally free itself from the things that we've harmed ourselves with forever, I think we have to be willing to be made new. And that means that even though there will be imperfection in our society, even though our society will fall short, we will always have hope that there will come a day where we will be made perfect. Maybe not in this moment, but in an instant. And we will not know when. So preparing is what our founding fathers would reference as the course of human events. So when we talk about the next chapter in the Ten Commandments, we're going to talk about the idea of the course of human events coming from this. And I think it's important to have that foundation. But for now, just enjoy the music. You know, a side note, I'm actually really glad that I started talking about a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about over the last couple of days. Because you know something? I really was struggling with wanting to start a lot of these series. And I was fighting against doing it because I was like, these topics aren't really interesting. You know, there's not really much you can get into with it. But there's, of course, there is. I just was feeling self-conscious because honestly, I just felt like I wasn't ready to start trying to take on that responsibility of trying to really explain the things that are being uncovered by the research that I've been doing over the years. I mean, yeah, I have no problem talking about things in the context of that as I'm doing the research in a moment, as you guys will see. But there's just certain things that I've realized about things, and I don't really like sharing them all the time. it's kind of why I have a weird perspective on how I should um, go about this process of what people would say proselytizing the nations. But really, in my sense, it's just testifying before the nations, giving my account. So this is why I try to make everything about, not necessarily me, you guys need to follow how I do things, but more so this is just from my perspective, how I figured out things. This is what I've done, this is what I figured out works. I don't know anything more than what I know, and I can't tell you guys things I don't know. And that's all I can really give you. Is that everything I say is things that I've learned or experienced and or have researched. I don't try to lie. I have no need for it. And I have no interest for followers and cultists. So for me, in this intention, it's no purpose to create a bunch of people who do not think for themselves and do not have a sense of self-sufficiency and self-agency to even question the things that I ask and say. That doesn't help me because I don't want to live in a world of lies. I've been forced to my entire life, and a large part of it has been at the beck and whims of people who have assumed that they know more than everybody else around them, and I don't. I learn more because I learn from everyone else around me, and I consume knowledge like food. It's the substance by which I keep myself thriving. Oftentimes, I don't eat because I'm caught up reading on something. So I am definitely one of those people that can lose weeks on end to just being caught up in a really good narrative about how something works. Case in point, let's talk about jadedness. Boop, bloop. Yeah, so one of the things I used to do when I was younger is I just do research on things. And while this is a controversial topic, I find it's very necessary to occasionally bring up the past and how intelligent people of the past used to speak about things. So this is American opinions about Hitler during World War II. Oh, this is gonna be fun, people. Oh, I also gotta plug this in pretty soon. We'll probably get another 15 minutes before I'll have to worry about that. I'll probably get you guys some music in the meantime. So, anyways. Oh man, this makes me sick, so I'm not even reading this, but okay. Communicated by Dr. Dmitry Stratentok. That is the bastardization of his name. Gathered by the Department of History? Whatever, I don't, who cares? Abstract. Adolf Hitler is certainly one of the most prominent men in history. When most people think of Hitler, they think of the Holocaust. In modern times, Hitler's name has become synonymous with evil. I'm sorry. I'm trying to have fun at something that I hate. But what did Hitler's contemporaries think? Using feature stories and editorials from the New York Times, this paper tracks American opinion of Adolf Hitler from 1940 to 1945. My, how did things age so wonderfully, New York Times, and your need to censor Nazis? Maybe that's a sense of guilt. Adolf Hitler was born in Braunau, Austria, where he lived throughout his youth. He enlisted during World War I and was decorated twice for bravery while serving. After leaving the army, Hitler helped to organize the German Workers' Party, later named the Nazi Party, where he was a popular and charismatic leader. Hitler's strength as an orator were realized at this time. Key point, he wasn't just some, guy who made fun of people and bullied people. He was skilled at the gift of speaking and communicating. This is an Obama, a German Obama, not a Donald Trump. He had far more sophisticated language in the use of the German language than most people, and he loved poetry. That was part of his whole schlick as an artist. Again, you have to understand the notion of the people if you want to try to murder them as a child. It's one of the reasons why I realized very quickly murdering them as a child wouldn't really solve anything. You have to actually prevent the Treaty of Versailles in order to prevent World War II from occurring and the genocide of the Jewish people. But that's a whole side tangent, and we'd have to get into that in a whole side thing. But anyways, point is that he was skilled at talking. He used his skills to gain the support of the veterans that he had served with during World War I. People who knew after World War I that Germany was not the cause of World War I. that was the whole murdering the Serbian leader, and again, that there was no need for the alliances to be pulled in the way that they did in order for the whole world to align themselves against Germany and then blame them for it, and then sell them the loans that they're supposed to use to pay off the war, which basically put them in a deep debt and poverty to the point where they had to eat sawdust. Just saying. I don't empathize. I don't even really sympathize with the things that they've done. But I understand human nature. And in order to prevent it, you cannot continue to reinforce the same patterns and themes, or else you will lead to more death and destruction. And you can't just make it as simple as, oh, well, these guys seem the same. You have to actually make sure who is the same narratively and pattern-wise, because human society is very cyclical, and we have a habit of shifting hands, so that the side that was fighting for freedom this time is now the oppressor of the next one with the people who were oppressing before, now, ironically enough, fighting for freedom. Luckily enough, America is not that screwed. The Republicans who freed the slaves are still the Republicans who are trying to keep people's brains on. Whatever freaking illusions that we were taught, at least for me, living in California, it's not necessarily true. When you look at the evidence, the Republicans never changed. We did. And by proxy, that forced a change and compromises in order to levy power and authority in regions that they were losing. Because the Democrats were willing to compromise and make excuses for anything and to promise anything. And what do we see today? 100 years of Democrats promising crap that they never actually do. Unless they steal it from other people or other countries. Remember that. In 1923, Hitler and his followers were imprisoned for trying to take over the government of Germany. It was during this time in prison that Hitler dictated Mein Kampf, My Struggle, to Rudolf Hess. The book described Hitler's program. Remember, Hitler dictated the book to another person who wrote it down. That's an important aspect of remembering biographies, is that when it's dictated to another person, it's usually about how the person perceives the writer's intention. So that can also change the outlook of how things are steered, because he will critique it in order to appeal to public interest. Anyways, the book described Hitler's program for the restoration of Germany to a dominant position in Europe. And that's not an excuse for it. That's saying that this book was tailor-made to appeal to the struggles and thriving of multiple people. It wasn't just made by one guy. Hitler used peer review to make his rules slick. This is why I'm criticizing intellectuals right now before we go into our work. 10 years after his imprisonment, which again is maybe a reason for why we shouldn't just imprison people outright for political speech, because, that might, incentivize people to think that maybe they have a point. I mean, again, if you want to not get people to think that maybe you have a point, you shouldn't probably go after them and silence them at every neck bend and turn. Let idiots speak, because idiocy speaks for itself, and everybody will notice an idiot for who he is the minute they open their mouth and prove how ignorant they are. Anyways, just one short year, one short. You guys have now entered the speech impediment zone. Just one short year after his appointment, Hitler took control of the government by combining the office of president with his own office. In 1934, he was self-appointed Führer of Germany. As the new Führer, Hitler wanted nothing less than the destruction of the Treaty of Versailles, case in point, and the transformation of Germany into a chief power in Europe. From 1934 through 1940, Hitler focused on training and preparation for the possible destruction of all other nations in order to bring them forcibly under German rule. During this time, Hitler became infamous throughout the world. Judging from reactions of the writers, editors, and subscribers of the New York Times, people were beginning to wonder whether Adolf Hitler was a mastermind or a madman. By 1940, many people saw Hitler as a great intellectual, and many news stories focused on Hitler's character and personality. Oh man, you know what? Actually, hold on. We're gonna take a quick intermission. I'm gonna detour, because again, on my own Treaty of Versailles thing, as I pull this up for you guys, because I figured this would be kind of cute. What I think would be kind of dope would be somebody to make a TV series about time travelers trying to perfect the art of preventing World War II. and they just keep messing it up because they keep going to the wrong moments and fixating on the wrong aspects of history, because it's the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect is very important. It's about the idea that just merely appearing in the past alters the future. That unless it's a closed loop by itself or by necessity or by a forced closing of that link by forcing yourself to be stranded in the past, you will inevitably change the future. Um, anyways, I think that this would be kind of cool if we threw this in with some stupid. Um, uh, though this might actually get me flagged. I hope not. I freaking hate YouTube sometimes. Let's like, if we use something with his death, then that might be perfect. There we go. Let's do the videos of his death. Perfect. YouTube can't hate that. Oh, shit, I wouldn't. Good riddance. I don't like people who go out of their way to mercilessly murder people just to make a point. I mean, yes, it's necessary to sometimes make a point, but I really would prefer if we stopped using human lives to do it. Can we just like create a bunch of robots and then just have them battle it out like Japanese style? And that would be preferable to watching people murder each other endlessly or contributing to it. Either way, let's get back into our reading. Oh shoot, I don't know if there's a way for me to. Yeah, of course there is. There, there has to be science, right? Nope. Okay, I give up. Screw it. I'm reading my own script. Come at me, bros. Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, there we go. Now I can just drag and drop. If I know how to do this properly, you guys just watch me struggle. Get your life together, man. Screw you. Anyways, whatever. By 1940, many people saw Hitler as a great intellectual, and many news stories focused on Hitler's character and personality. Georgetown University polled the students on who they saw as the most outstanding personality. They named none other than Adolf Hitler. Prist, Princeton, Princeton, not a Prince University. Oh my gosh, this is the worst time I've ever had speaking. But I also think that I just really don't want to read this. I wish I just had one of those like robot voices that go. Princeton University held a similar poll to take. Oh wait, to the same result. Even when world-renowned British Who's Who listed Hitler as then men's most in the public's eye today, this shows Hitler's prominence in the world at that time. Some of the interest in Hitler was due to the fact that his book, My Struggle, had been published. Many people noted that Hitler laid out in this book his plan to take over Germany, Europe, and possibly the whole world. He believed that the Aryan race, who created the swastika and had a similar empire as the one he was creating, was a master race which conquers inferior peoples, then regulates their practical activity under its commands for its aims, but also for the conquered people's own good. Which, by the way, does that not sound like just a racialized version of the creed of the communists? Hitler wasn't original? That's the point that I'm trying to make. Hitler hoped to recreate this type of empire. Many people believe that Hitler had the intelligence to do this. Adolf Hitler in 1940 was a man of many faces. He appeared to people as harsh yet kind. He was loved, worshipped, respected, feared, and hated. According to two articles in the New York Times, there were a total of 5 Hitlers. 1. The private Hitler was seen as a little man. He had always been a quiet man who kept to himself. He was obviously not from an old ruling class because his plan was to build a new one. 2. The official Hitler was very recognizable. He had many distinctive characteristics of a leader. He was a mass orator, dictator, warlord, self-confident, scornful, and omniscient. This Hitler acted as the part of the fearless leader and never wavered in front of his followers. 3. The original Hitler appeared to be aimless, moody, and complacent. He simply toyed with matters of leadership and adversity. 4. The private Hitler showed the thoughts and origins of his idea, and helped prepare the fifth Hitler for the outside world. The fifth This mystical Hitler was one that everyone in Germany was following. He was the Hitler that had come to the public eye and placed fear in the hearts of many people. Ironically, Hitler is said to have been eligible for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1940. This award is given to someone who has done the most work to promote friendship and peace throughout the world. Quote, willingly or not, he has promoted friendship among the free nations by confronting them with a common danger. He has caused Americans to feel their kinship with the British, the Greeks, and the Chinese, and with the lovers of liberty in France, Belgium, Holland, Denmark, and Norway. He has waged war in such a way as to awaken in that great part of the world which is still free to a passionate determination to destroy, by war or means short of war, the Nazi standing armies. He has given impetus to movements for a peace congress which will unite Earth's democracies against all systems and all rulers, whose natural tendency is towards war. He has raised peace from a benevolent aspiration to a necessity for which men will lay down their lives. Other articles discuss the possibility of Armageddon between the haves and the have-nots. Times do not change. This was Hitler's story. He grew up as a have-not and became a have, and his goal was to replace the current haves with the have-nots. By 1941, many people had read Mein Kampf, and Hitler's ideas were better understood. People began to see the origin of his thoughts, and their focus on the war turned to fear of Hitler. People all over the world were openly discussing their fears, plots of assassination, and his possible insanity. Everything Hitler said in his book was coming true. He actually did many of the terrible things he said he would do. However, Hitler's actions had begun to vary from his published plan, and people had no idea whether to believe his book anymore. One story reported that Hitler had admitted to being a liar. He said, the masses would more easily fall victim to a great lie than to a small one. People began to voice their opinions on what should happen to Hitler if he were captured. Many people believed Hitler should die. In fact, a group of Harvard men, formed a suicide squadron to capture and assassinate Hitler and his men. Oh my god, the realistic and glorious bastards were a bunch of nerds from Harvard. Many people were eager to hear Hitler's funeral broadcasted for all to hear. These were morbid thoughts, but they were inspired by a very morbid man. By 1942, Hitler was no longer gaining popularity. His German followers remained loyal partly because they had no choice. Victory would now seal his conquest for decades. Defeat would send him and his nation to destruction. They were already bottomed up. At this point, there was only going forward or just going back to where they were at the start, which was nothing. Germany had begun to lose its edge in the war. In 1940, Germany was victorious and feared by many. By 1942, Germany was losing battles and losing strength. Overexerted. Not paying attention to the need to actually know what a nation can do. Hitler was still feared as an individual, but his plan was no longer taken seriously by many people. Hitler worked his men hard as he worked himself, but it was uncertain if that would be enough. But Hitler and Germany were not going to give up easily on their goal. It seemed to most people that Hitler would have to be killed in order to stop him. More than ever, people wanted Hitler dead. For example, the monument builders of New Jersey, at their annual convention tonight, adopted a resolution to send a free gift to Adolf Hitler if he would cooperate. The gift? A tombstone. One U.S. senator said Hitler should be hanged for what he had done. The most surprising thing of all was that Hitler drafted his funeral in will for all to see. Perhaps Hitler feared he would die soon. It was certain, however, that Hitler saw himself as a mastermind and a genius. He wanted to keep his name, face, and ideas alive after he was gone. Scientists were ordered to write papers discussing the structure of his skull and dissect his brain for posterity. For posterity. Oh, wait, what would be the German listen? Posterity. No, that would be Russian London. Posterity! No, I just think Germans scream. Anyways, Hitler also ordered a defiled picture to be painted of himself. Oh no, a deified Man, that's my just wishful thinking. No. Uh, Hitler wanted a picture painted of him being rear-ended by a horse. A German, a German steed of good stock, purebred. He bred it himself for the personal mounting on his wall. Oh man, he did always want to be an artist. Anyways, Hitler also ordered a deified picture to be painted himself. He worked out his funeral arrangements so it could be an unforgettable experience. Boy, it was. Shot himself in the middle of a bunker at the very end of the damn war. Hitler apparently didn't care or was unaware that his self-image was very different from the public's view of him. He saw himself as an angel-like figure and the most prominent man in the world. Most movies, which portray Hitler as one of the most villains in history, came out at this time. In 1943, Disney made a film about Hitler's ideas of racial superiority in order to warn the public about his plans. Hitler continued to be prominent in the news in 1943. The Nazis were in crisis, and they were looking to Hitler for help. You know, the conspiracy theorist in me goes, technically, Disney was known for propaganda. But anyways, side thing, I don't need to travel down rabbit holes. I don't need to think about that. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about the idea that oh god, what if they got their ideas from the liberals? Oh my, I'm gonna be so pissed off if the freaking intellectuals are the freaking reason why the whole racism thing is a whole thing today. Oh, I'm gonna be so pissed. Because in the 1920s and 30s, eugenics was a huge thing, especially in California, amongst our elites and amongst our intellectuals. And the Germans used that to justify their whole schlick. So technically, if Disney was then using that to justify it, they were ignoring the fact that we were the ones who came up with the ideas in the first place. I don't need to think about America anymore. Oh, I hate our country sometimes. And it's not because of the country. It's no fault of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. The people are hypocritical pieces of crap who are inconsistent in the things that they wish to establish and freaking secure other people to live under for generations to come. That is a freaking is worse than the League of Nations sometimes to think about some of these things, because yeah, if you realize the League of Nations didn't have to be created and that most of this current society and problems in modern society would have been prevented, well, that's bad enough. But once you start realizing just how much we did not need to live in this current world, it's really infuriating beyond just some, oh, well, we didn't have to have climate change BS. Oh, we did not have to suffer so much of these wars, so many people dead. How many freaking hundreds of millions of people have died over the last 50 years, and we have not done a damn thing to stop it because we're not trying to listen to how we can change it. But anyways, Hitler continued to be prominent in the news in 1943. The Nazis were in crisis, and they were looking to Hitler for help. Man, I'm in crisis trying to read this thing. News articles reported that 542,000 Germans were dead. That Hitler was... That's so... They went from the greatest intellectual powerhouse to World War I, wiping them out so much they were willing to throw themselves on a meat grinder and waste damn near all of their potential on a fool's errand that anybody who thought about it for a second would have realized it's impossible to pull off. But they were hopeless, and of course they were freaking into something as stupid as this. Ugh. Hitler was insane. But Hitler had stabilized Germany. And now Hitler and Germany were on the verge of collapse. News reports of 1944 question Hitler's leadership abilities. Is Hitler really suffering from a breakdown, or is he trying to fool the world? Some news stories compared him to his great men, like Frederick the Great and Napoleon I, while others ridiculed such comparisons. Many stories focus on Hitler's life and supposed insanity. People were trying to find out what had sparked his ideas about ruling the world with his master race. A general in Hitler's own army reported that Hitler was mad. He reported that he had heard Hitler say, "The deaths of all those millions of people were only episodes." Jesus, he sounded a lot like Stalin at the very end. Gorbachev. Hitler failed to appear and speak at an event that he had planned to attend, sending other Nazi officials to take his place. This failure to appear touched off a number of speculations about Hitler's mental and physical health. Some people believe that Hitler was suffering from serious paranoia and afraid to be in the spotlight. Or maybe perhaps he just saw, oh my god. Here's one of my theories about closed loops. If you ever tried to use a time machine to learn about the future, what you learn about the future would force you to create the future. So if Hitler were trying to look into the future in order to create Germany's victory, all he would find out is just how much everybody wanted him dead and how much he died. And Lord forbid if he watched something like Inglourious Bastard. This is just my own fun. I'm having fun on a very grim topic. But let's just say that this was the event that was depicted in Inglourious Bastards, because this was 1944, when Inglourious Bastards, I believe, took place. What if he watched the movie, saw that everybody loved the idea of him being killed at a movie showing or some type of gathering that he goes to, and he's like, I'm not going to do that. They obviously are waiting for a moment to kill me. And in reality, we never even created a time machine, and by the time we do, we realize it's totally useless. Or, and a really freaking great kind of idea of a close route, we create time machines in the future only to realize that our enemies created time machines in the past, but that the time machines failed because they only found out about how much they lost. And so they just gave up on the project. Oh, that'd be just so great. They just look at it and they're like, well, we keep losing, so we might as well just ignore this. Of course our technology's not working. That would just be great. Oh, that'd be priceless. That'd just be right up their alley to get hoisted on their own petard. Those things are freaking shaped stupidly anyways. A petard is a grenade, by the way. Hitler failed to appear and speak at an event he planned to attend because he was insane. Some people believe Hitler was paralyzed or dead. In 1945, reports of Hitler's insanity were still making headlines. Many people believe that Adolf Hitler would be found insane if captured. Nah, he was just found quote-unquote dead, though. I haven't seen pictures of the body, though we had cameras at the time. By the way, why didn't we take pictures of his body? Oh god, what if he escaped to Argentina and then ended up moving south? Oh god, what if the old man was actually Hitler? There is a rumor that an old man admitted to actually being Adolf Hitler and that he escaped with a large amount of the Nazis that fled to South America after the war. By the way, Germany has always had relations with South America. South America had relations with Germany as long as they had relations with Spain, which I think was part of the reason why the Germans were willing to work with the British. Because the Germans, the British, and the Spanish were all related and they had political ties to fight against America and to prevent the rebellions that were starting to spring up. And also they wanted to keep control in that region because Germany had intentions to spread up north and to make trade deals with the Russians, I believe. I think even the Italians were trying to squabble for land for a time until they gave up. But I think the Italians, for a large part, were working in cooperation with Spain and Portugal. I'm not familiar with that aspect of history anymore. It's been years since I've looked into it with any sort of vigor. But anyways, they did not feel that executing Hitler for his crimes was appropriate because Germans would consider him a martyr. Huh, so they weren't even planning on killing him anyway, some people thinking. They thought that he should face the people he had hurt and see the negative effects of his actions on the world. What? Hitler, you made everybody sad and you killed millions of people. How dare you? Go and sit here for 50 years and think about what you did, you bad man, you. How dare you? How dare you inconvenience the nations? I'm sorry, but I want you guys to understand just how much I detest European sensibilities and how they just sit there and think of these noble notions of morality that actually aren't that moral at all. That is not moral at all. He killed millions of people. At that point, he's already freaking sacrificed his right to redemption. He's sacrificed it millions of times. And if he had a chance for redemption, it would have been before he prayed. To be completely honest, I believe the only way for the war to have ended would have been for Hitler to die. But the only way for Hitler to be condemned to hell like everybody wants and would want is for Hitler to kill himself, which means the war had to end the way it was, with just as many innocent people dying so that they can make sure he stays in hell. So all the people who died in the war are basically killed so that they can make sure that motherfucker stays in hell and doesn't get a chance at second life. And if that gives anybody solace of anything, that gives me a little bit of solace. That people like Hitler will never be able to amass any more followings if they ever had a chance to rise from the grave. And then for those who theorize that there will be a resurrection of all the fallen dead who are unsaved, and a coming deception that will lead them into the final battle of the four fronts of Thessalonica. Possibly, they also call it the Battle of Megalo, but Thessalonica also means those who are victorious of the Battle of the Four Fronts. It's a very confusing term, but that's also because it's the name of a city which was named after the victory of the Battle of the Four Fronts. So it's a reference to Armageddon when you read the Book of Thessalonians, and Book of Thessalonians is technically a book for those who exist at the end times and are going to be alive during the final battle, in theory. My theory, but I would say that that's just clean balling off or spitballing off of other people's theories. I don't necessarily uphold to it. In fact, I don't really subscribe to any particular view of Armageddon. I just know that it's going to be caused by our own hubris. It's not going to be because God wants to end the world and murder millions of people upon trillions of people. It's going to be because humanity gets hoisted on their own petard and we basically destroy ourselves. Basically in spite of God and in spite of his best efforts to help us. But yeah, this is depressing somewhat. Just like, maybe this might just be our video on government right here. This is just enough for us to understand that why it's so important to be in charge as people and to be leaders as people, as the common people. Because any person who could have amassed a following, contrary to Hitler, could have stopped him at any moment. Anybody who could have amassed a following could have became Hitler in a moment. So it's not enough to think that you're moral enough not to do what Hitler did. You have to know that you've been disciplined enough and you know the weight of the authority you're seeking to hold over other people's lives and futures and generations to come. You cannot do this lightly, and you cannot treat people like they're pawns. It's the most despicable thing in it. To me, I would rather politicians murder other politicians than ever send people to war. And if I ever was a political leader, I'd rather be willing to pull a gun to shoot another world leader to prevent a war by offering my life as a sacrifice than to sacrifice my country's safety, security, or economic freedoms, or even the lives of my people. If they want to go fight their way to go free me after I get in prison after murdering their president so that they're basically thrown into political disorder, so that at the very least, if we're having an inevitable war, they can't freaking have anybody organizing that's somewhat competent, well then, because again, I might not shoot the leader, I might shoot the most competent general that's in front of me. But either way, I probably will end up going to prison if I ever become a world leader sent to deal with a war. Because if somebody really wants to push it, and they say, if you don't yield to giving us nuclear weapons, I will fight you, and kill your people, and kill millions of people, yeah, I probably will shoot him right then and there. I don't like watching people bully other people into submission using the lives of others as forfeit. I'd rather sacrifice my life to try to murder that person as quickly as possible. And I wish more people would join me in that. But that does not mean that you go around murdering leaders and murdering people left and right. That is a positional thing. Like, I'm talking about, I'm sitting there, I am the president of this nation, talking with the president of another nation who has made it very confident that he will nuke America into submission if we don't yield to letting him murder a couple million people in his homeland. If that comes down to that, I will not let him murder his own people, and I will not let him put American people at risk. He has to go. If they put me in a room with Hitler and we were doing peace talks at the time, I would shoot him right then and there and let ships fall. I'd probably die for it, but I'm willing to go to hell on that. I would rather prevent the mass suffering of others than keep sending people to slaughter on the whim that some policy will sure enough win the day 3 generations from now when it's almost doomed to fail a month from now to anybody with any serious desire to actually break any of these policies that the UN makes. China is not fearful of the UN powers, quote unquote power. We're fools to assume that the UN has any interest in actually finding China or any other nation that seeks to rise against them. They will rely upon us, no doubt, after having shamed us, guilted us, and forced us to, you know, put ourselves in the worst position to do so. They will then rely upon us and probably sabotage us in the process because, honestly, I don't trust them. I don't trust their leaders. I don't trust their governments. I trust their people. And I believe that their people want out. And they're helpless to do a damn thing about it, just like these people were of Hitler. Rumors started to circulate about a double for Hitler. He was supposed to be a total look-alike, and he was trained to be Hitler, and was supposedly going to die a martyr's death on the battlefield so that Hitler could be glorified without dying. What if he didn't die on the battlefield, but shot himself in a bunker? After spending his time having sex with a girl, and probably doing things that Hitler usually didn't do. I wonder. Oh, see, here's the doppelganger theory. I need to see a cuisine list of what Hitler ate during his final months. If that fool ate a steak, considering how much of a fierce vegan he was, we might have some evidence that there might have been a doppelganger throughout the war, and that the doppelganger was the one who died and that Hitler might have actually escaped. Anyways, whatever. I don't endorse conspiracy theories. I just think about them and talk about them out loud for all to hear because I don't give a damn. Take that, censors. Indeed, Hitler and his newlywed. Oh, wait. After Hitler was reported dead, people were not certain whether they should believe the reports. Some believed it only because they thought Hitler would only let go of his dream of world domination if he were dead. Indeed, oh my god, what if he just went to Argentina and just painted for the rest of his life? He just gives up halfway through the war and she's like, you know what? This was a mistake. I made a mistake. And then leaves. Oh my god. I'm coming up with this TV series of like all these different Hitlers that people try to murder. And then when they finally get to Hitler, they realize, oh my god, Hitler's still alive. And the Hitler we finally killed in this bunker, that's not Hitler. And then they go back in time trying to find the real Hitler to kill him. Then they keep finding the doppelganger Hitler. And what if the doppelganger Hitler is actually the evil Hitler and the other Hitler's just this total hippie idiot? That would be great, but also probably not accurate. That's where we could bastardize a conspiracy theory in order to make it sensible for the censors not to kill us. Again, if they actually do crack down on the point to where we can't even joke about these kind of things, then you really will just have to make it the joke that good. You'll have to make the joke that much of a ludicrous joke that nobody could take it seriously, even if they wanted to. Indeed, Hitler and his newlywed, Eva Braun, committed suicide. What a stupid name. Committed suicide on April 30th, 1945. Such a stupid name. Mr. and Mrs. Braun, what would you like your daughter's name to be? Ava sounds nice. You'd like your daughter's name to be Ava Braun. Ava Braun. Ava Braun. Braun Ava. Yeah, that sounds perfectly fine to us. Like, no, your last name is not fit for a night. Like, yeah, I understand the need to have a beautiful name to fit a horrible sounding name like that. But it's like Brawny. I don't know, I'm just picking on Ava Braun. I don't know. But Ava Braun Hitler? Come on, you gotta be kidding me, dude. Seriously, Ava Braun Hitler? Ava Hitler, though. Ooh, that would've been. Ooh, and wasn't she like an idol in Germany? Ooh, that would have been hip. Man, that would have been cheek. She made some mistakes. Man, I'm glad they got themselves killed. That's probably why they ended up getting themselves killed. He was like, she didn't take my last name. No, we can't have awesome children. The children might not have, they'll have to share both our last names and they'll sound stupid. Blap. Anyways, Hitler shot himself in the mouth with a revolver. Convenient, because wouldn't that obscure any potential to show his identity? Oh God, I should never have taken criminal. So I had it in my mind that I'd follow in my father's footsteps and go into criminal investigation. 2 years into that course, and I realized I made a grave mistake when I was trying to do a freaking research on human cadavers. And then I had flashbacks to when I discovered my dad's photos from his coronary work and realized, oh, that's what a human being looks like when they smash against a tree going super fast. Seeing dead bodies wasn't so much traumatizing, it was more so realizing that those people had lives and that they lost them in a second. And that second expands out into this eternal emptiness that only ends when they eviscerate into the emptiness of the earth. Remember, I didn't believe in God at the time, so that was horrifying to think about at the age of 12. Again, it's quite nice to throw away God and then become an atheist. Horrifying to grow up atheist and have nothing to believe in when the world goes to hell around you. That's why people were so hard gobsmacked Christian when they turned Christian from atheist. And then Christians are like, why is he so fanatical? Why is he so hardcore? And it's like, because I saw misery, suffering, and death. And I was dead. Look, if you just woke up from being dead and having maggots eating your flesh, wouldn't you be a little bit excitable about the whole damn thing? Like, I'm a little bit excitable about it because it's like, yeah, I see what death. I've seen death in the face. He looked at me, laughed, slapped me on the booty. And I was just supposed to sit there and be okay with this. So I ran. And I ran for the dark for so long, hoping that death wouldn't be behind me when I stopped. When I looked behind me, death was there. And he was like, what's up? You ready? And I was like, no, I am not. I am not ready for this. And so I kept running. And I ran for so long until I thought I escaped. I thought I found light. And oh boy, did I enjoy that brief glimpse of what I perceived to be light. Until I found myself wounded, stranded, and then death stood over me, mocking, leaning over me, spitting in my face as he spoke. Now you are mine. Mine, mine, mine to play with forever. And it is in that moment when I realize, oh my God, I might actually die. I might actually die. I realized, why? Why not? What have I done? Nothing. I have been a man of half measures my entire life. Running away was the only thing I managed to do with any sort of certainty. Hiding was all I did to cope. Yet in the end, why not die? As the darkness seeps in your thoughts, and all you get is just pessimistic nihilism that seems to be very consistent within intellectuals in their 20s. Again, I like to talk crap about myself, so I do include myself in the intellectual branch because as much as I try not to be an intellectual by humbling myself, beating myself down, and forcing myself to go through listening to every argument rather than just the arguments I prefer, at the same time, I am prone to hubris, I am prone to being lazy, I'm prone to wanting to favor my favorite arguments over arguments that I think are ludicrous or just boring. I like entertaining ideas more than I like entertaining boring stuff like this damn article where I have to read about how Hitler was a crappy person when I knew that. I don't like reading about how somebody is at their absolute worst. I wish we could figure out a reason how to prevent it. But again, you can't understand evil without first understanding what evil is. But when I looked death in the face, that's when I realized I want to know God. And that's when I realized I want to live. I mean, of course, I didn't own it at first. As soon as I got away from death, I took a break. I fell asleep for so long. But I woke up with the accident. And not the one where I got injured. Ironically enough, that one I was like, wait, what the hell? Because I was just going through a hard time. I mean, I was basically already half freaking caved over in pain because of my back and my mouth basically being forced to be ripped apart. last minute, and then I got into the car accident this other year. But the one that I got into where the whole Ford Fiesta folded over in on me like a blanket, yeah, that was peaceful. That was real peaceful. I was actually kind of mad about that. But that was really the only other time that I thought about it since really that moment when, after high school, I realized I don't want to die like this. And while I didn't really understand what that meant for a long time, I at least knew that I didn't want death to catch me like that. I at least wanted to go down swinging. There was a part of me that wanted to reach up and punch death in the fucking face. To spit in it and say, I will never be yours. I may die for a time, but I will find a way to live forever. And then I really started to search into it, and that's when I started digging hardcore into science. That's when problems started, because then I started digging into Eastern philosophy, started looking into how AIs would have to learn from human knowledge and what they would find in human history. And that's when I started looking at the course of human events. And when I started really looking back into history, I started to realize patterns. And then I started to think about things that I remember hearing about in different stories and myths. Then I started looking into those myths. Then I started going, wait, these myths are describing what I remember from the one. Cause up until my life, up until the age of 21, I had never read more of the Bible than the book of Revelations. Like, I've read bits of the Bible, I've read chapters of the Bible, but I never read a whole book of the Bible. I read Revelations at the age of 14, I believe, and I was so gobsmacked terrified of what I read that I never opened the Bible up again. I was like, I'm cursed and blessed at the same time, and if I don't finish reading this, and if I don't quote it properly, I'm screwed. Well, now I have to finish reading this because my inquisitiveness is taking me over. Same reason why I freaking listen to creepypasta. And then I freaking led myself down that rabbit hole and was like, oh my god, that thing never left me. It's kind of like the Passion of the Christ. It's the like the very few instances where God was actually introduced to me in my life, and they were either horrifically traumatizing or extremely peaceful, but they stuck with me. And they stuck with me in a way that actually relieved me of stress whenever I thought about them. In this case, thinking about the idea of, you know, sorry, I lost track of fucking reading the end of this. Pardon my French. I really don't like Hitler. I don't like the end Hitler. I think that I could respect the Hitler that fought in war. I can understand his pain. But the Hitler that ruled over Germany is a person that I don't hate because I don't believe I never could become him. I hate him because I spend every single day in fear that if I ever became a leader, I would have to forever spend my life making sure I never make the compromises he makes. And I hate that I have an example of human beings that have done that, and I hate those examples because that means that I too could fall short and be corruptible and unto power. I don't like it because I don't want to seek power in the first place, which means I'm basically screwing myself for something that I don't really want to do, but I want to do because I feel like it's the only way to actually fight death where it comes from. The root of death comes from the heart of society. So the only way to prevent me from dying, really, to prevent all of my existential angst and realistic angst that comes in from paying bills, working, but then still having to be tied to a society where they force you to be vaccinated. The economy can fail. Climate change is going on. Well, how do I deal with that? I fight death in the heart of the capital by changing society one person at a time, starting with myself and by testifying, hopefully getting other people to change themselves to realize the truth and the change so that we can all recognize how we collectively can fix things. And it might just be as simple as all of us being humble enough to realize maybe we all individually aren't enough to do it. And maybe collectively we all aren't mature enough to be able to do it and have it stick. So maybe we need to rely on something beyond ourselves to unite us all and to keep our generations united. Because if you exalt God in this generation, He will guide your children, your great-grandchildren, up into the 8th generation. Doesn't mean they're not going to fall short. It's not like they're going to not be accountable to God for their sins. But if you want to prevent what happened to Germany happening to America, you have to find something higher than science or this government. I am even sure that Hitler was dead. I know he was a sick man. This is a quote, by the way. I am even sure Hitler is dead. I know he was a sick man, shaking with palsy, hardly able to walk, and certainly unable to climb any barricade. I am sure that they will never find his body because the Nazis buried him. Oh, burned him to build up the legend of his fighting, when actually he was hiding in a safe shelter. He already was so sick that I am sure Himmler helped him on his way to death. Or covered it up. From 1940 to 1945, Adolf Hitler, the architect of Nazi Germany, created fear and horror in the likes of which he created fear and horror, the likes of which the world had never seen. American opinion about Hitler went from wonder to morbid fascination to fear to disbelief and outright hatred. The modern public still has a morbid fascination with the infamous characters such as Charles Manson and Ted Bundy, whose actions defy moral standards nearly all Americans have fooled. Yeah, people like Charles Manson and Ted Bundy piss me off too. While I can say that there are nuances to all people, including monsters, the nuance to a monster is that they're a beast, and they've sacrificed their humanity, and they've made it clear that they've separated themselves from the rest of us. I may be a sinner, I may have fallen short very much, but I refuse to predatorize and consume my own people. And none of us should ever condone it or even entertain it. People who like this idea of the Joker and stuff like that, like, yeah, it's cute, but it's not. It's not good to allow nihilism to lead you to defy the odds, to be willing to destroy society, because when you destroy society, you murder innocent people. It's not something to take lightly. We could just restructure everything, as if the things that required human lives to build can just sacrifice human lives willy-nilly to just remake whenever you wish it. Human life is sacred, and when people died to get us to this point, we owe it to them to find peaceful ways to remedy the failures that we still have to make amends for. If you believe there are things in the past that still need to be dealt with, then you find peaceful ways of doing that, stealing from people, oppressing people, censoring people, and consuming an entire nation into civil war. All for you to exalt yourself. It was Hitler's tactics, his intelligence, and his insanity that made him the most prominent figure of all time. And I want you to look at the current administration. How intelligent they think they are. How brilliant they see their tactics when we see insanity. They will be held to an account, as we all will be. But we need to pick leaders who genuinely give a damn about their fellow citizens and about the citizens of other nations more than their own power and freaking administrative rule and their legacy. I give no damns about a 4-year legacy. That is the least important thing. I give no damns about the legacy of the Congress or the Supreme Court. I give a damn about the legacy of whether or not our country holds together because of the policies and contracts and agreements and love that we have between each other to uphold these things and to treat each other with the respect that these things require to even have. If you guys want privileges, if you guys want any sort of prosperity, it comes from respect for our common man as being kin, belonging unto one family. And when I realized that, the Christian message became the only thing that made sense to how to piece this broken world together. It's not a triviality. It's not something to be adopted and then twisted to fit our government and our human whims. It needs to be in us. And then from that, it'll naturally be expressed in an organic way into the rest of our lives in society in a way that will not force people to suffer and be forced to act and lose their agency just to uphold what we believe being Christian is, or being a proper citizen is, or do unto your neighbor as you wish to do unto yourself is supposed to be, as Kamal Harris just said today. In fact, if I even still have that, I'm gonna play it. Because I find this absolutely appalling, and I think this is where my anger is coming from. The fact that they treat you all like you're just pawns to be wielded by them. The American people deserve to be free, not used in political games, not levied and sold to foreign powers. We deserve better than that. Our children deserve better than that. Our parents deserve better than that, whether we hate them for their failures and flaws or not. People aren't perfect, but we don't have to condemn them to death and suffering over it. I'm tired of people having to suffer for the sins of their fathers. It's not right. Or else we are no better than that man right there. If you don't forgive people for their sins, you're no better than Hitler and the rest of Germany during World War II. They could have rose to power and been willing to just say, look, leave us alone. We are miserable under you guys trying to pursue your concept of peace. Leave us alone. We will not fight you. Just leave us alone. But instead they fought. And they fought and murdered. And then they caused themselves to fall on a sword. Is the rest of humanity gonna have to learn the same damn lessons before we finally are humble enough to submit to something higher than our human collective? A singular entity to lead that collective that is not tied to some machine or some government system or some peer-reviewed congregation of elite priest, scientist, wannabe researcher elites. No. Every man standing before Christ as an individual representing themselves and giving themselves to Christ so that Christ can change them and make them new and bring them before the Father saying, this is your thy servant, ready to do thy will, ready to be for thy sake in glory. Amen. Remember, shepherds, we are fighting a war. And though we're in a cold winter, it's going to heat up. Tensions are going to come in. And we're going to fight and have to press in to break this stalemate. We have a hard 3 years to come. But as you see in states like California, recalls being made. People are changing. People are waking up. They're starting to see the flaws in the systems and in the elites, idols they forced us to worship. This nation is not yet over. The world has not yet submitted fully to the Antichrist. But the false prophet has had his reign. And it's time to expose him. To prevent these Hitlers from rising again. With a smile on their face and a businessman's greeting. And promises of equality and equity for all on their tongue, on the back of their hands. They hold daggers. Shepherds, sharpen your horns and be ready for the wolves. I hope you enjoyed that. I thought I was done there. No, if you guys enjoyed that kind of stuff, though, I think that, I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of creepypasta, so I've been kind of getting into this mentality that I want to start writing again. And I've been writing poetry here or there, but I'm not gonna write that on here, because it's mostly just... I read a lot of romance novels, and I kind of got into a moronic fit where I started trying to write poetry about the feelings of hope and joy and love and whatnot for humanity and life. And I don't know, I find them rather... They're not... I wouldn't say that they're bad, they're just pretentious, I would say. I feel it rather pretentious, so that's why I would never really want to read them. I'd rather read the ones that are more gnarly or kind of conceptual or experimental than read ones that I'm just like, and the sky is so beautiful as it rises, and the clouds as they part and drift about, like watching the lapping waves of the sea part with the foam drifting over the sand particles. But instead, the sand are my eyes, and I disintegrate into that abyss. Like, crap like that. It's like, that's really pretentious. And while it would fit in, like, the 1800s, I wouldn't necessarily try to go say that that's the best kind of poetry to start with now. One would say that The Trigger in Town would not be approved. That was the book that they always had us pound into our head in creative writing. I actually really liked it. It's a great book. But the idea was that, poetry doesn't have to be verbose. It doesn't have to be long-winded. Unless you're writing an epic. But even in epics, there's a flow to a style. And you can break apart language. You can use language in a flowing way that is developed by the character of the people who are talking, the nature of the town that you're in, the environment that you're in. And so, I like to add that kind of flair to poetry, and I'd like to start working that towards actually coming up with concepts. So that's why I'm thinking, like, man, maybe I should start writing some of these weird ideas down, some of these quote unquote conspiracy theories that I really am just kind of spitballing on things that I think are cool. Oh, as you can tell, it is the Sabbath. As you can tell, I am in the Prince garb. As such, my goal today is to be focused on sanctifying myself, preparing myself for some Messiah core work. Don't know what it's going to be, but at this point, I'm tired of not doing anything. And, well, Messiah core work doesn't necessarily mean I wear the wig. The wig is just a personal thing, and I wasn't planning on making a video, but I ended up being awake, and I was like, well, I've been making videos at the Witching Hour like all week. Why would I not just make a video since I'm up? So I was already dressed, working on getting ready for some prayer stuff anyways, so I figured why not touch it and talk to you guys. So that's why I look like this. I'm not a different person. This is me. I don't have a twin. If I did, things would be a lot more efficient. But anyways, I did shave, took care of a lot of things just because, honestly, I was walking around and I got tired of having my chin more sweatier than my forehead. It's a really weird feeling and kind of annoying. I keep forgetting I'm black. My hair is curly, so it being wet is the most miserable experience because then every time I try to go and comb my hair afterwards, it tangles and it's like ripping out part of my flesh. So yeah, I just decided I was done with it. I had my fun. I got my beard for a good month or two. I'm done with it. I looked like a caveman for as long as I felt like I needed to caveman out for a bit. Sometimes you just need to reset and be unkempt. Whether you're male or female, just let it loose. Be unkempt for a bit. Actually not care whether or not you're perceived by public as being acceptable, and just exist. That doesn't mean don't be hygienic. It just means don't worry about having to shave every single part of your body, or having to like worry about a haircut or how you carry your hair or your clothes. You don't have to always freaking worry about looking like you're the richest person in the world. Some people literally wear cloths around themselves. You should try it sometime. Literally in the Bible, there are moments where people would put on sackcloth. That literally means that they dressed in undergarments in their homes and sometimes in public, and they would sit there and pray and give praises to God and basically repent. And yeah, there's a whole schlick about putting on sackcloth and rolling in dust and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of where I'm going towards. By the end of next week, I'm going to be more towards my priestly role. It's just a year ago I established it's important for every believer to, within themselves, contain the nation and the church. Not nation in the sense of their country, this America, but in the sense of the nation of Israel in themselves. You are Jacob before you are in Christ, for you are one who is striving with God, as Israel is, but you are one who is supplanting as Jacob, seeking to create things with your own power and your own creative will. So when you are pre-selected by God and he's working into your life, you're a Jacob. But when he finally works onto you and you wrestle with him and you finally are converted, well, he afflicts you and he makes you into Israel. You are now striving with him. You're striving in the Holy Spirit to come into this new life, to become a new nation, a nation that is bearing fruit, that is becoming influential in the affairs of the world, the community around it, that is able to build upon itself a family, a people. I'm trying to wait for this thing to pass by. Also, the wind is starting to blow this wig in my face. I did not pin this up well at all. But I also took like 5 seconds to do so. Anyways. To get it in my eyes. Why, wind? Why do you fight me, wind? Anyways, is it getting light outside? Oh my god, it's 4 a.m. Anyways. Oh my god! Oh my gosh, there's I don't think it exists anymore, but if there is, it's in the middle of YouTube hell. On YouTube, there's a video of the worst line spoken. I think it's like Goosebumps or something like that. No, Trolls 3. The worst line in Trolls 3. The guy's watching these things, and he's like, okay, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna look this thing up. This just has to be seen to believe. Oh my god, they're eating her, and then they're gonna eat me next. Oh my god! Oh, it's the best. It is the best. Oh my gosh. Oh. Wait. Technically, gosh doesn't really change the word from being God. Questions for later. Alright, so. What was I typing? Trolls 3. Sorry, we're in the spitball part now. Oh, they're. Wow, they just knew. They know my people. They know my people. Oh, that's the wrong one. Doo-doo-doo-ba-doo-boop.
They're eating her. And then they're going to eat me. Oh my god!
Oh my
Fame
god.
is a vapor. The only earthly certainty is oblivion.
Oh, this is demented.
Welcome to the mysterious stranger.
Hello,
Who are you?
an angel.
What's your name?
Satan,
What the hell, Mark Twain?
what's the matter?
Nothing. Only it's sure a sorry name for an angel.
Please
Actually,
come
I'm gonna
in.
turn them off right there.
Come on.
Nope.
Amazing. It's like an island.
It's like an island of death. Oh, and now it's a pretty garden of death. How tranquil.
How do you learn to do that?
I didn't learn it at all. It comes naturally to me, like other curious things. Are you hungry?
Sure am.
What kind of fruit do you like the most?
Oranges!
Apples?
Grapes.
Ooh. Where'd he go?
What happened to him?
There. Oh boy.
Can we help?
Oh, hey, it's
You may make some people.
I'll make the king and queen.
This seems like it's
I'm gonna make a soldier.
too benevolent to be benign.
Look at that little village.
There. Here's a buddy.
Now we'll give them life.
Oh,
Looks like my pap on Saturday night.
yeah, I forgot about
Look,
this.
they're moving.
There's like regular people.
Oh no. Oh no.
even though you are a worthless, greedy lot.
Whoa, what?
How annoying that sound
Oh, this
is.
is going very quickly.
Fools. What fascinations there are on this planet. Strange mortals with curious customs. We'll have a storm now, and an earthquake if you like. You must stand aside, out of danger. I can do no wrong, for I do not know what it is.
You murdered him.
Never mind them. People
Oh.
are of no value.
Oh!
We could make more
Oh, I really forgot
sometime
about this. This
if
gave me
we
nightmares.
need them.
I thought that was just the drugs.
Life itself is only a vision,
Oh
a
no!
dream.
Oh, this is...
Nothing
Oh
exists
no!
save
Oh,
empty
no.
space, and you are but a thought.
Oh, and he's hitting Mark Twain's eye. The twinkle in Twain's eyes, the devil.
I want to go home.
I reckon I'm getting out of here.
Not that way, Huck. Mr. Twain, close the door. Mr. Twain,
I don't want
Remember
to
your
do this
old
anymore.
friend, Injun Joe?
I don't like this place anymore.
Mr. Twain, why did you do that?
I realize
That's a hell of an
that from
understatement,
the
Sally.
cradle up, I have been like the rest of the race. Never quite sane at night.
I'd never be the same either.
But Mr. Twain,
You're not supposed to be after that.
Welcome to the
Kind of enough for a lifetime.
That does it.
Wow. I just traumatized
We're only
you
waiting
with
for the
thousands
right
of
moment
years of
now.
therapy
right moment
because
for what?
I was traumatized once.
Becky,
Turned out to
do you
well for me.
swear not to tell?
Hell no, I'm telling everyone.
On your grandmother's bones?
Hell no, not especially
Well,
now.
do ya?
The hell after I just saw that, I'm gonna believe in everything the Bible said and not do anything
We're
related.
gonna
to the
hijack
race.
this balloon.
Wait,
What?
dude, that's the kind of
Hijack.
proof people
Can't
want.
you see it? Tom Sawyer
I never
Aeronauts
want that kind of
say his airborne friends from Madman's Death Wish.
My very next reply to this kid would be, "You freaking insane? Have you lost your damn mind, Thomas? You not see the heck we just saw?" Like, nah, I'd be Oh, no. This guy actually was standing around over there. Oh, man. Good times, yeah. Anyways, now that I'm thoroughly traumatized by that, I'm gonna traumatize you all. Since... why not? This is something I show people every couple of months, but it's kind of like a good initiation video for understanding why symbolism is important and why occultism is so deviously persistent in our society.
Can an 8,000-year-old herb really
Increase my level of tolerance for you? No, and I'm still gonna slap that beard off you. I don't have a beard on my face, so I can't talk about it being crap. I apologize for traumatizing you guys, but I'm gonna run away from this. Have fun! can't even begin to explain what this video means. It is so chock full of occultic symbology that it would take me at least 3 hours to try to discuss it. I've seen videos take weeks. Like, I'm not even kidding. There are 13-part videos on this, literally going millisecond to millisecond, pointing out every single piece of mythology, angelic, or in secular sense, mythical reference to other religions. And this is made by a company that only made this video in Canada. This video was made years ago, and it was just dropped, and people dug it out of the internet, but it was released, and it was popularized among the elites, elite artistic circles. But taking the words from Maria Abranovich, the matron of spirit cooking, a performance is magic. And when you watch film or media, you are watching magic come to life. This is not a video of Christ coming to rule the world again. This is not the video of the second coming. This is a video detailing the destruction of this current society and the rebuilding of the New World Order, with the false Christ rising to lead it. This is why I stress the importance that we cannot destroy the old systems. If we do, we play right into the hands of the Antichrist. We cannot kill to rebuild. We will fall right into the enemy's hands the minute we think we could destroy the past in order to build a better future. One that we can hide our mistakes in. One where we can rebuild and remake the image of man in our own image. We cannot, for we are the throne of God. What is more the throne of God? The body, which is the temple? Or some random seat? God was talking about the people he wants to be with as being his throne. And that's why it's so important. When the Bible says that the angels sought to put God off of his throne when they fell, they were talking about God's people being brought away from him. So be careful. There is a wolf looking to devour us. Sorry, I wanted to end you guys off with something cute, but I guess I kind of got stuck in a creepy rabbit hole. That freaking other video kind of set me off in a mood, because that was depressing. That was exactly how the angels treat us and think of us. I think, to a certain extent, it should stand as a lesson that there are powers external to humanity that act for our destruction, whether you believe in God or not. There are uncompromising forces that mankind will meet as we continue to push the limits. And that's just a fact. I was going to end you guys off with I was going to end you guys off on the far side. And considering YouTube already blocked part of this, I don't really care anymore still. Screw you, YouTube. I'm not even monetized. I don't even make money. Like, I don't even make money from this. Oh yeah, it's not far side, it's psychic origami. But still, YouTube, I don't even make any money from this. You guys put advertisements on my videos to make money. So like, what the hell? Why are you guys blocking my stuff? It's obvious I am an educational channel as far as my education can be considered educational. Either way, I think that I'm going to come up with two terms. There's going to be the shepherd for those of us who are working on tackling the issue of fighting these new systems and idols that are rising in our society. And then I think I'm gonna try to christen a term from the grave, bring it back from death. The quantum mechanic. It's my favorite term from like the old songs that I used to listen to. But anyways, as we travel down my dorky old rabbit hole, enjoy and have a good Sabbath. The sun rises on you. May you be blessed with lots of rest and peace. And may you receive direction from God. so that you can seek the revelations necessary for you to come to true faith and hope in Christ. In Jesus' name, amen. Now let's get down to business and have some fun today, folks. Go out, love your friends, love your family, do something different for once. And let's go and enjoy the show.
Excuse me, sir. You think you can help me with directions? Yeah, I can help you with. Well, go around the side. Check with the quantum mechanic. He can definitely help you out with directions. They need to move back. Hey, if you need directions to the place you are going to, pay attention to the things we are showing you.
So come along and I'll lead you the right
well,
way.
it's the transplant to a god. Probably the cat that caused the MC suicide. Dropped his ellipsis and left it open-ended to let you decide. Keep trash on one side of my back seat so at least two can ride. I never been taken out though many have tried. And you can all try again cause I got plenty of time. Even though a friend of mine said you reach a certain point and it's the end of the line. See, I deal in points and lines, but I travel on planes. And when I trim the landscape, create a pattern to change. If you dwell within the scope of what an atom contains, then everything that we bring to you is out of your range. See, I took the quantum leap and increased my panorama now. From my living room, I can see through to Alabama. People, it's no such thing as objects, only thoughts, ideas, waves, and concepts. What's next? Hey, if you need directions to the place you are going to, pay attention to the things we are showing you. An audio roadmap to put you on a path to adjust your point of view. Hey, if you need directions to the place you are going to, pay attention to the things we are showing you. Come on, come on.
So come along and I'll lead you the right way.
Who needs direction? We all need direction. Who needs direction? We all need direction. Who needs direction? We all need direction. Yes, my mechanics are the type that make me hydraulic, living out the framework of gas, liquid, and solid. I bounce down midtown blocks and cause aftershocks. The humble assassin in the form of a chatterbox. Ring the battle bots, begin the clone wars. I'll loan you a particle gun if you don't own yours. Add your own score, give yourself a point for every human posing as an android destroyed. And grab the debris with your food processor and go back to the future like Christopher Lloyd. Man, I'm keeping information operators employed, giving people directions on how to travel the void. It's like that, yo. Hey, if you need directions to the place you are going to, pay attention to the things we are showing you. An audio roadmap to put you on a path to adjust the point of view. Hey, if you need directions to the place you are going to, pay attention to the things we are showing you. So come on, come on.
So come along and I'll lead you the right way.
And when in doubt, MapQuest go out to any place outside of the box, outside of the square, outside the realm of breathable air, out of the realm of possibility, we're out there. Hey, if you need directions to the place you are going to, pay attention to the things we are showing you. An audio roadmap to put you on a path to adjust your point of view. Hey, if you need directions to the place you are going to, pay attention to the things we are showing you. So come on, this path was only designed for a select few. An audio roadmap.
I think that one of the best things about these old kind of bands is that they had a lot of fun with the material they're telling us, they'll listen to. That's kind of what I always enjoyed, is that Psychic Origami, they want to take you on a journey, so their conceptual albums are, an entire set piece, a stage. So for this album, they basically have taken over a gas station. And the concept is that while they're trying to support their album, they're working at the gas station, and they're basically trying to sell people their album while they're working there. And I love that kind of concept. That stuff is really the kind of wholesome stuff that I think we're really missing from our society nowadays.
Pump 5, you said the bill. Thank you for stopping at the Standard.
Yes, next up. Let's see what you got here. Bag of chips, Snickers bar, pack of Eclipse. Can I get some Newports? Yeah, pack of Newports? Yep. Okay, you want Kings or 100s? 100s will be fine. All right. Total comes to... I got gas too. Oh, you also got gas? All right. Let's see, I pumped 10. All right, all right. Total comes to $12.66. There you go, buddy. There you go. Gotta get out of here. All right. Thanks. Come back. Go to work. Yeah, no line, no waiting. I'm here for your convenience. I had a sign up, but I guess nobody's seen it. It was in the window, but I never really clean it. So when it comes to it, I guess I don't mean it. The inside is scenic. We got what you need, from bread to brown rice and juice and birdseed. We even got trees. And if you want that, when you check out, just ask for the bathroom keys. And act irate, like I waited 5 minutes. And on cue, we got 5 grams when you finish. The line never diminished. We got permanent tenants, from businessmen to crackheads who act skittish, and people who speak Yiddish, people that don't get it. We even got liquor, Grey Goose to Glenfiddich. Or was it Glenlivet? I once got a visit from a kid with a shirt on that only said cynic. Newspaper headline reads that there's been a slight rift in the Senate. Recently a new sidewalk costs a minute, but only after dealing with the details. Just a little slice of retail. It's like, no line, no waiting. Yeah. I mean, it's lunchtime, dog. Come on. What you got? All right. 6-pack of Amstel. Yeah. Can I get some Marlboro Reds? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The box or red pack? Red pack. All right. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. A little shop around away from everywhere that you've been, and people step in and don't know where to begin. We only get cleaned out when you prepare for the end, and I always got a Batman prepared to defend. Behind the counter we got packs of squares, Slim Jims, a veteran pain medicine, loose blunts in plastic boxes with the slots in them and a sign attached to just help your local veteran. We always got people around peddling, soliciting, and the smell of ripe urine comes from the corners that they pissing in. Usually a conversation jumps off that's loud enough for everyone to listen in. You can catch me from 6 a to 10 p.m. working 6 days a week, cause I don't take advantage of my weekends. And right before I fall off the deep end, I take a deep breath and hear a voice speaking. And I give 5.8 and a dollar straight box using 2.6 and a pack of 1.5s. And yeah, I also want this.
What kind of convenience store do you run here?
Yo, it's the Standard. Yeah.
How much is this thing anyway?
I don't know, $2.
You work in a convenience store.
Anyway, all right, next up. I was wondering if you sold them cell phone battery charge things.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. That's one thing that we don't carry.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
Shouldn't be so connected to that thing anyway. I mean, it's like having a pocket homing device.
Oh, honey, you rest assured, ain't nobody looking for me.
You never know.
Precise radar with satellite tracking, homing devices, cellular contraptions. You can run, but you won't get far, cause we're bound to find you wherever you are. Most stay in line with new age designs and then follow suit with the way it computes. In a bus, train, airplane, apartment, a car, believe that we'll find you wherever you are. Mapping out coordinates and smashing in subordinates. I burn them with the torch lit by the less fortunate. Stick, scorching it, state of mind's affording it. So I'ma eat no matter how big or small the portion is. You could try your hand at being motionless and be a sitting target, but that only means that in the human market you would be a bargain. A value plus discount. I perform a routine on the parallel bars of consciousness and stick the dismount. Gotta make this count before it's all over with. Conjure up a keepsake and hope you don't dispose of it by dispelling mythology and all of its supposedness. The inner mind's eye is what I focus with. See a door before it even manifests and open it. Entering a world without the handcuffs and scarred wrists, but y'all still want it regardless, cause it's brand new for you and you and you. OnStar, North Star, in and out of your car. State Farm's cheaper with onboard report cards. You can run, but you won't get far, cause we're bound to find you wherever you are. Most stay in line with new age designs and then follow suit with the way it computes. In a bus, train, airplane, apartment, a car, believe that we'll find you wherever you are. Wherever you are, wherever you are. Wherever you are, wherever you are. Wherever you are. Listen, soon enough, satellites will form a force field around the planet and surround us. While everyone is looking confused and saying, damn, I can't believe that they found us. A few of us will show you what tunneling underground does. Maybe it'll scramble up the signal. Let them know we're here to battle back and it's official. Let them know the cattle can react to push the issue and stampede the onslaught style superficial. I form telepathic images into a gallery that'll be displayed in times of fantastic fallacy. Or I'll just save time and sandblast my way through. Save time cause you waste the time that we gave you. I wade through invisible transmissions and fish for connections to others on handheld receivers. Making me a product of the information age, but we stay misinformed so that can't work either.
Have those men put under surveillance? The satellite lens surveying their activity.
Get the system, Dave, matter.
Destroy the satellite.
Precise radar with satellite tracking, homing devices, cellular contraptions. You can run but you won't get far, cause we're bound to find you wherever you are. Most stay in line with new age designs and then follow suit with the way it computes. In a bus, train, airplane, apartment, a car, believe that we'll find you wherever you are.